With public libraries, and I'd note that Councilman Pridemore is with us. And Ken, if you could introduce yourself and your colleagues and then make a brief presentation, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. My name is Kent Oliver, and I am the director of the Nashville Public Library. And I am joined up here today by Susan Dry, who is our Associate Director for Administrative Services, and Marianne Morris, who is our Financial Officer. And I'm also pleased to be joined today. Keith Simmons, who is the president of the library board, is with us, and also Robert Orman, a board member. So I have a good group with me today. In addition to mentioning our budget requests, I would like to briefly go through a number of what I think are achievements and highlights from some pretty outstanding programs that we've been able to provide this year. First, I'd just like to mention that another edition of Nashville Reads is underway with record numbers attending the opening kickoff a couple of weeks ago. And the programming surrounding Between Shades of Gray by Rita Sepetys has been outstanding. I understand that the mayor's session at Bongo Java had 70 people crammed into a small reading room that I think speaks to your commitment and also the quality of the title that we've selected this year. And May 12th is going to be the finale for Nashville Reads. The library's Makerspace program, Studio NPL, is gathering steam as our makerspaces are opening throughout the library system. And these mentor-driven learning centers for teens and tweens will see the main library studio space opening on April 8th. Yesterday, the main library was pleased to host the Nashville After Zone Alliance's 5th anniversary, and NASA's new home at the library has proved to be a very successful addition to what we call our suite of education and learning services. Limitless Libraries continues to grow with 22,000 student cards and 6,000 teachers actively enrolled this year, and we are seeing a checkout rate of 128,000 items so far this year. The middle school renovations at DuPont Hadley and Apollo, in collaboration with the Metro schools, were successfully completed and opened last year, with new renovations planned this year for Overton and McGavick High Schools. Our adult literacy programs and services continue to expand and provide critical support for learning communities. We have active collaborations in place with such agencies as the Nashville Adult Literacy Council and Conexión Americas. Our user services for these programs include mobile computer labs, story times for families, puppet story times, ELL opportunities, and these are all funded with support from the Nashville Public Library Foundation. The Pathway for New Americans and the New Americans Corners are providing an important resource in working with Nashville's immigrant community with their accompanying programs. And the library has initiated its own Immigrant Advisory Council as we seek to develop meaningful programs in this area. Technology use is on the upswing as the library begins to provide more laptops and iPads for checkout along with our wireless access. Movies, music, ebooks, magazines, language databases are among the downloadable materials available to all of our cardholders for free. And we expect a new library website to go live by the end of this June. The library's services to Nashville's homeless community have been a focus of several national news articles and stories lately, including recognition on MSNBC last week. And we've also instituted an advisory group in this area as we develop the service program. Our Special Collection Division continues to assist with coordinating the creation of the Encyclopedia Nashville, and they are also providing a video and oral history of baseball in Nashville in conjunction with the Metro Archives to be shown at the new Tennessee Park during the Sounds games. Thanks to the support of your office and Metro Council, this has been a landmark year for building and renovation of public libraries. Southeast and Bellevue opened new dynamic libraries, and renovations were completed or are underway at North, East, Bordeaux, Luby, and Maine. Later in this calendar year, major renovation work will include the Main Library Children's Area, as well as Edmondson Pike and Watkins Park. To have a sense of the impact that a new branch library can make on use in any area of the county, in February, checkouts were up 68% at Bellevue and 34% at Southeast from a year ago. Overall, we expect that checkouts in our library system will be nearing 5 million items this year, which will be a record number. It is important to note that nothing would be possible without the wonderful staff that we have at the library and their dedication to exceptional service to the community. Not only do they provide great service on a daily basis, but they react positively to opportunities to address challenges faced by our city. We appreciate your consideration and the enhancements granted last year in the 2014-15 budget year. Our budget requests, supported and approved by the Library Board this year, are consistent with our strategic plan goals and objectives, and they include funding the personnel gaps for approved Bellevue and Southeast additional staffing funded for a partial year in 2014-15. That's $228,000. Funding for technology staff to implement and deliver a joint ILS service with the Metropolitan Nashville Public Schools, $368,900. NPL and MNPS have completed a study to combine our online computer system. Funding has been allocated for the software system, and a project manager position is in place. The 6 FTE will support the joint technology, technical, and collection processes. We are also seeking restoration of Friday public service hours for library branches. That is $1,379,000. The library should expand service hours to all branch libraries to Friday. The request includes additional staff positions required to meet the schedule. The Library Board and public have voiced their support for Friday branch service hours. Opening of the regional libraries, as well as Southeast and Bellevue, would be a good beginning if funding was unavailable to launch the entire system. Several tiers of staffing enhancements have been requested this year in priority order. With increased activity and circulation and programming, the library is overextended in several areas, including materials delivery, security services, AV production support capabilities, and public service staffing. The library is also seeking to transition targeted Library Foundation funded staff positions onto the Metro payroll. These staff have included researchers in Special Collections Division, as well as full-time staff in the Bringing Books to Life program. The first tier of staffing enhancements, 6 FTE, would include staff in the library's Special Collection Division, AV production services, security, mailroom delivery, and communications, $307,800. We would also seek interpreter and captioning services for library programs at $15,000. Our second tier of staffing enhancements for public services includes the main library teen staffing, public technology instruction, and children's area staff, 3 FTE at $148,600. Staffing enhancement for public technology, teen services, the Bringing Books to Life Foundation budget transition staff, AV production staff, another position, and administrative receptionist position, which would be a restoration of a lost position, at $334,200. And Nashville After Zone Alliance student capacity increase, $312,300. NASA is poised and ready to increase student capacity for this program after a successful transition to the library. In the area of capital, we would seek to continue the program of library facility renovations at $4 million In 2013 and 14, the library began a successful series of branch facelifts and renovations, and we would like to continue that program, and we provided a schedule to the finance office where we would be taking those renovations. We would also seek in the 4% funding that the materials budget be supported at the $3.5 million level. The library is still striving for the $3.5 million level of support for books and collections. And due to the change in the advancement of electronic formats, the library is often purchasing book titles in several reading and listening formats. Thank you.
Well, very good. Well, first, let me congratulate you on having a great year, and in particular, the opening of two branches in the southeast in Bellevue, which both I thought were spectacular additions to the libraries. How have they been doing?
They've been doing, I think, phenomenally. You heard the increases as far as the checkout, and we're seeing increases, obviously, in foot traffic. I think that we couldn't have done much better with those spaces and providing for the community. I think they reflect the process that we went through as far as seeking input from the community prior to actually installing the services. I think the electronic pieces that we've placed there have made a big difference with the laptops and the iPads for checkout. I think they're doing well.
And then you did the renovations of North Branch and Pruitt.
Right.
Were completed this year too. Are there any branches that are lagging in terms of?
I don't know that the branch is lagging. I think we're excited about the Bordeaux renovation because I think that's a space that particularly needed to be upgraded and refreshed. And so we're excited about that. In fact, it's closing this week to start. The main library's children's area is another one that, while we all consider that a new building, when you go in that children's area, because it is used so heavily, you're seeing worn carpet and a lot of things that are just simply worn out. So those are areas that we're going after. The Watkins Park Library, we have an opportunity to really make a difference there. It has really just kind of been a one-room library with a few computers in it. And what we're planning there is to remove a wall and move into the park space a little bit and perhaps move out the other direction as well and probably triple that space by the time we're done so that we can really have more computer access in addition to having a small collection there. So those really jump out at me. Madison is down the road as well as we look at additional 4%, and Madison Library is one that everything that I've mentioned is true of. The carpeting and furnishings are worn out. We need to open up that space and make it more welcoming, frankly.
I'm sure Councilman Pridemore agrees with that. In terms of limitless libraries, what were the two schools that were the works going on?
Overton and McGavock are the two high schools, and the piece that's interesting, McGavock is going to be great, and Overton, I believe, is remodeling the entire school in the next couple of years. And the approach we're taking there is primarily at furnishings and the interior work, so that when the full renovation of the school is completed, we can just move those items back into the newly renovated space.
Yeah, I think that's number one on the school's list for schools for renovation. And so that was the money that was put in the capital budget last year?
That's correct. Well, actually, that was a separate allocation, correct. That's the $1 million that we divide between those two.
Right.
Yeah, two different capital allocations.
Right.
One was for the renovations of the existing libraries, and then $1 million
For the Limitless Library program.
Yeah.
Right. And so have you found that these Limitless Library restructuring or refitting of the libraries is productive and useful?
Yes, we're having the effect that we were looking for, where those libraries are becoming the hubs of the schools. The technology pieces are being used. We're also seeing what we call small maker spaces with some technologies such as 3D printers starting to move into those spaces, so the kids are having access within the schools to more technology.
And take a second for the viewers and talk about what Limitless Libraries is.
Well, Limitless Libraries is a program where we are leveraging the resources of the public library to provide loaning opportunities to the schools where they actually can access our collections, and we deliver materials to the schools. We're actually in all the public schools at this point. We're also doing a pilot with a charter school at this to determine how that will work as well. We're also doing purchasing for the schools and their collections because we receive a larger discount because of the level of purchasing that we do. The added piece that we began a couple of years ago is where we actually collaborate with the public schools. We go in and we find these library spaces that are a little bit run down and need updating, and we really try and make those the hub of the school community. The other piece that we presented today is the kind of a capstone on where we're trying to go with this is that we've been working on a project over the last couple of years where there would be just one online catalog or one database that would have all of the materials in the school libraries and our holdings together. And
That's the electronic card catalog.
Right. And so what would happen, we would transition what the school is doing over to the public library. And so it would be much more effective. It would be a better service because everybody could see what the schools in the public library had at one time. And we would also be processing and doing the technical background on it. So it would be very efficient, and we know that we would save money in maintenance of the system.
How long do you think it takes to get that fully up and operational?
We believe that we can be up by later this year.
That's great.
So, but we think that that's a real key piece, and certainly leveraging the materials, the purchasing power, and just the efficiency of it and making more resources transparent.
And then for the Limitless Library, sort of the school program, if we were able to do that again this year, that would be acceptable.
Oh, absolutely. We would love that. We would have no trouble finding libraries to do that.
Good. Let me ask you about the opening of the branch libraries. The request, can you tell us the difference between branch and regional libraries?
We have, at this point, we're mainly a regional and community libraries, and the regional libraries are 20 to 25,000 square foot facilities typically. The other ones range usually 8,000 square feet or less. And the regional libraries have larger meeting rooms, larger collections, just more staff and greater computer access in those facilities.
How many regionals do you have?
There are 5.
What are they?
So I don't miss any. I'll go to my notes because it would be easy to miss one. Madison, Hermitage, Green Hills, Edmondson, Pike, and Bordeaux. And Southeast has been an unofficial regional. And Bellevue is actually the same size as a regional. So those are all the larger buildings.
All right, so if you opened the regionals on Friday, what would the cost be for that? And the regionals being all the ones you just listed, including Bellevue.
It would be $1,165,200,000. 1,165,200. The reason for that cost is simply that in order to have the buildings open, we have to have a certain number of staff in those buildings, so we'd be adding approximately 36 staff, full-time equivalents to open up the entire system, and that number goes down as we look at the branch staffing in the different locations. The reason there is not a great difference between how much it would cost to open the regionals on Friday and all the buildings is simply it does not take as many staff to run the smaller buildings.
Okay.
Is that 12-month budget?
Yes.
There's really only $200,000-$300,000 difference between? Okay.
We looked at it several times too, and again, it's when you look at the manpower it takes to open an Edmondson Pike as
Right.
opposed to a Thompson Lane.
Right. Okay.
Okay, and then let me ask you about the, there was at least one thing where it had been done by the Library Foundation, and now you want to move it to the regular budget?
Right. There are 4 positions in our request this year total that are funded by the foundation. About 4 years ago now, the foundation funded 2 positions in our Special Collections Division to do oral history projects, looking at it as a pilot project. And those positions have never been brought into the Metro budget. The same with Bringing Books to Life. We have 2 full-time positions there that we would like to bring over into the main Metro budget. The head of that department and also the adult literacy coordinator, those are full-time positions. We just think it makes sense that those positions, since they become core services, should be in our Metro side.
Okay. All right. Rich?
Cut it up differently. Why don't you talk, we funded the software for the ILS stuff?
Yes.
Why don't you just make sure we all understand what that's going to do
Okay.
with the staffing assistant?
What the 4% money provided will help transition our current innovative system, our III system, the catalog will provide us transitional software to add, to begin changing records, and it will also provide the money to purchase the services to actually clean up the databases and move the records from the school's computer system to our computer system. And I believe there may be a small amount of maintenance in that as well. The staffing is a whole host of things, everywhere from data entry to software development and software maintenance to additional processing on materials to actually maintenance of computers. So it's a pretty hefty item when you think about that we'd be looking at all the public schools.
Greg?
Well, I'm interested in this Friday reopening, and maybe the best thing to do at this point would be to sort of, all work together to look at those numbers, and there's probably several ways to skin this cat and
Right.
find a way to do it where we can get it within the confines of what we need to do budgetarily, but I certainly would like to see the work done to get us in a position where we can get that done on some scale.
Great.
And
I think it'd be good to start the process and then see how it works and see if the use of it on Friday is like it is for the other days of the week, then that sends the message that we need to start looking at it for other places down the road.
how long have they been closed on Fridays?
Since 2003.
2003.
Since 2003. All right, so keep me in the loop. Let's try to figure out a way to get it started, start opening some of these up, and I don't have the capability of figuring out how to do it fairly across the county, but there's geographical ways you can probably do that.
Right.
And come to a number that works.
Right.
All right?
We appreciate that, and we'll certainly work towards that.
Okay. All right, well, thanks. Great job.
Well,
as
thank you.
always. Love our libraries.
And honestly, it's just so great to work for an administration that appreciates our work, and your support is always important to us, so thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay.